Welcome to Top Dynamics. Today is December 26th. While the world is slowing down to enjoy the final days of the year, we are diving deep into the DNA of a company that practically invented the way we celebrate. We are talking about the House of Mouse. But forget the fairy tales for a second. Beyond the sparkling castles and the catchy songs lies a story of brutal corporate warfare, massive financial gambles, and a relentless pursuit of psychological dominance. How did a high school dropout from Missouri build a brand that survived the Great Depression, World War II, and the digital revolution to become a $200 billion behemoth? This is not just a success story. This is the strategic blueprint of the Disney empire. To understand where Disney is going, we have to look at the wreckage of where it began. The year was 1923. Walt Disney was 21 years old and he was a failure. His first animation company, Laugh-O-Gram Films, had just collapsed into bankruptcy. He arrived in Hollywood with nothing but a cheap suit, a few drawing tools, and $40. In those days, animation was considered a novelty, a lowbrow filler for movie theaters. No one saw it as art, and certainly no one saw it as a billion-dollar industry. Walt and his brother Roy started the Disney Brothers cartoon studio in a tiny office, paying $10 a month in rent. The first major turning point in the Disney dynamic was the betrayal of Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Walt had created a character that was actually gaining popularity, but he made the classic mistake of every young entrepreneur. He didn't own the rights. His distributor, Charles Mintz, went behind his back, hired away all of Walt's animators, and took the character for himself. Mintz thought he had destroyed Walt Disney. Instead, he forced him to innovate. On the 3-day train ride back to Los Angeles, feeling the sting of total defeat, Walt sketched a mouse. He understood a fundamental rule of top dynamics. When the gatekeepers lock you out, you don't beg for a key, you build your own house. In 1928, Mickey Mouse debuted in Steamboat Willie. But look closer at the strategy here. It wasn't just a cute cartoon. It was a technical revolution. It was the first cartoon with fully synchronized sound. While other studios were hesitant to adopt new technology, Walt leaned into it. He realized that to lead a market, you have to define the standard. Mickey Mouse became a global phenomenon, but the money wasn't enough to satisfy Walt's ambition. He wanted more. He wanted to change the way humans experience stories. This brings us to the mid-1930s, the era of Disney's Folly. Walt decided he wanted to produce the world's first full-length animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. People in Hollywood thought he was insane. The industry consensus was that the human eye could not handle bright, flashing colors on a screen for 80 minutes without getting a headache. The banks agreed. They stopped his credit. His brother Roy tried to talk him out of it every single day. To finish the film, Walt had to walk into the bank and show the skeptical loan officers raw footage of the movie just to prove it wasn't a disaster. When Snow White premiered in 1937, it didn't just win, it redefined cinema. It earned $8 million in its first release, which in today's money is nearly $200 million. That one film provided the capital to build the massive Disney headquarters in Burbank. However, the 1940s brought the first massive crisis of identity. World War II cut off the European market, which was half of Disney's revenue. At the same time, the studio was hit by a massive animator strike in 1941. The family-like atmosphere Walt had cultivated was shattered. He felt betrayed. The company was bleeding money. Then the US government stepped in. Not to save them, but to use them. The military occupied the Disney lot, turning it into a fortress to protect the nearby Lockheed aircraft plant. Walt was forced to pivot into producing training films for the Army and propaganda shorts. It was a dark period, but it taught Disney the power of institutional influence. They weren't just entertainers anymore. They were a part of the American infrastructure. Post-war Disney was a different beast. Walt realized that movies were a one-time transaction. You buy a ticket, you watch, you leave. He wanted a recurring relationship with the customer. He wanted to own the physical space. This led to the birth of Imagineering. Walt would go to local parks with his daughters and sit on a bench, watching them ride dirty, dangerous carousels while he ate peanuts. He thought, why isn't there a place where the magic actually exists? The construction of Disneyland was a logistical nightmare. To fund it, Walt had to sell his soul to the new medium of television. He made a deal with ABC to produce a weekly show in exchange for an investment in the park. He used the TV show to give people a behind-the-scenes look at the construction, building massive anticipation before a single brick was laid. When Disneyland opened in 1955, it was a disaster. The asphalt was still wet, the plumbing failed, and thousands of people showed up with counterfeit tickets. It was called Black Sunday. But within weeks, the momentum was unstoppable. Disney had created the first themed environment in history. They weren't selling rides, they were selling the chance to step inside a movie. When Walt died in 1966, the empire hit a wall. For nearly 20 years, the creative output was stagnant. The company became a target for corporate raiders like Saul Steinberg, who wanted to buy Disney just to liquidate the assets and sell the land. The dynamic had shifted from create to defend. It wasn't until the mid-1980s, under Michael Eisner and Frank Wells, that the Disney Renaissance began. They realized that the vault of characters Disney owned was a gold mine. They started the home video revolution, selling VHS tapes of old classics, and launched a new era of hits like The Little Mermaid and Aladdin. But the real modern transformation, the one that made Disney the titan it is today, belongs to Bob Iger. When Iger took over in 2005, the relationship between Disney and Steve Jobs' Pixar was toxic. Disney's own animation was failing, and Pixar was the new king. Iger made a bold move. Instead of trying to beat Pixar, he bought them for $7.4 billion. He didn't stop there. He looked at the market and realized that the future belonged to franchises with deep lore and super fans. In 2009, he bought Marvel Entertainment for $4 billion. Analysts mocked him, saying Marvel was just for comic book nerds. A decade later, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has generated over $28 billion in box office revenue. In 2012, he bought Lucasfilm, bringing Star Wars under the Disney umbrella. And finally, in 2019, he executed the massive $71 billion acquisition of 21st Century Fox. This wasn't just about movies. This was about data and distribution. By launching Disney+, they took back control of their library from Netflix and established a direct line to every household in the world. Today, Disney is at another crossroads. The transition to streaming has been expensive, and the pressure of maintaining a century-old legacy in a world of TikTok and AI is immense. But the core dynamic of Disney remains the same: the ability to turn a character into a lifestyle. When you go to a Disney park during Christmas, you aren't just a tourist. You are a participant in a 100-year-old tradition. You are buying into the idea that happily ever after is a product that can be manufactured, scaled, and sold. Disney's history shows us that the greatest threat to a brand isn't competition, it's the loss of its own soul. They survived the loss of their founder, the shift from film to digital, and the rise of the internet by constantly buying the future before it arrived. They don't just follow trends, they acquire them. As we conclude this special Christmas episode of Top Dynamics, think about the lessons of the House of Mouse. Success isn't about having the best drawings. It's about having the most resilient strategy. It's about knowing when to mortgage your house for a dream and when to buy your competitor to save your empire. If you found value in this breakdown of the Disney machine, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We are just getting started on our journey through the 50 brands that shaped our world. From the tech giants of Silicon Valley to the luxury houses of Paris, we are going to show you the gears behind the glamour. What is your favorite Disney era? Do you think they've become too powerful, or is the magic still alive? Drop a comment below and let's get the conversation started. We read every single comment, and your feedback helps us decide which brand we tackle next. Thank you for being a part of the Top Dynamics community. From all of us here, happy holidays, and we will see you in the next episode as we continue to decode the titans of the world.